we are in unprecedented times, God, and nothing is surprising you. Honestly, it's surprising me. And God, we need to realize and know and feel and understand that although the world is chaotic, although things are, in our mind, out of control in some areas and some aspects, you're still in control. And we're going to trust that, and we're going to believe that, God. And we want to honor you with our actions, with our words, with our decisions. Give us discernment. God, give us faith, give us peace. I pray for this body up here as they are tackling issues and as they continue to do the will of you, God, and the will of the citizens of this county, that you would give them that peace in their decisions. You would give them that discernment, God. You would give them the ability to think through all that, God. Provide that to them. Provide that increase and a healing over our land. We ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Next, we have the approval of agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Yeager, do you want to make
I would like to move the mayor's report after appearance of citizens, please.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion on the agenda as modified? As amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is appearance of citizens. Do we have any citizens here that would like to approach this body to speak about anything that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. And we've got a big slate tonight of things to do, but I really want to say this Operations Committee does a terrific job, because when we have a lot of discussion here, and when we get to full commission, it's usually just voted up or voted down, but most time if we recommended it, it goes through. So I really appreciate all the time that everyone on this committee puts into it. So I think y'all do a great job. Thank you. Is the mayor outside? Oh, there she is. See her now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and you are a great committee. I learned a lot. Especially when you have the long nights with lots of learning. The first item on the agenda is requesting a motion to provide additional emergency sick leave hours related to COVID-19 effective July 15th, 2021 through September 30th, 2021. And I see Kim just walked in, so she can definitely help answer any questions on this particular item. That document was in your agenda packet. And we discussed, I have discussed with some other mayors the idea of adding some emergency sick leave when we saw the cases spike again. So some other counties have done this as well through September 30th.
Motion by Commissioner Meredith, second by Commissioner McCamey. Any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Scott.
Mayor, why only through the 30th of September with Labor Day happening just recently?
Well, part of it, there's also a tax implication. That credit expires on September 30th.
Okay.
And then also, like before, we kind of tracked, if you recall, we did an extension when we saw that the cases were still active and we were still under that allowable period. So we can always reassess in conjunction with federal guidance.
And I appreciate that, because I have been keeping track, and we do tend to spike 10 days after a holiday. So that's kind of my concern. Plus, we've got other holidays that are coming up on top of us. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, I'd like to introduce Marjorie Presley. Margie has been with us since April of 2018. And she has been our building inspector. She does a great job. We get a lot of good feedback on Margie in the community. I guess it was, I've lost track of time, Margie, but we promoted her to director. I don't even remember when that was. But our next move is, I know this is generally a recommendation I bring to full commission, but I wanted to start here at operations so that we could allow plenty of time for any discussions or anything in that regard. But I am requesting a motion to recommend the appointment of Ms. Presley as the building commissioner for Anderson County. And this is a position that the mayor appoints, and then there is a confirmation vote by the county legislative body. And I'll let Margie answer any questions. She did bring her binder with all of her certifications. One thing I do want to make clear is the building commissioner does not have to be certified in all areas of the building code. So for instance, David currently is certified for residential and commercial, but he does not have mechanical or plumbing. Margie does possess all of those qualifications, but if there were a time in the future, for instance, 6 years from now, when Margie just wanted to be the building commissioner and everybody was on board with that, we could have someone else do the full slate of certifications for all of those particular fields. But she will be doing both roles. David still does work with us some part-time, so if there are some occasions where she can't be here, he could do a residential or a commercial. He just could not do the final inspection, as an example. And then we've also talked about Danny embarking upon some training in that regard to have some additional bench strength, if you will, for the building inspections. But if you want to look at her binder, she can pass that around. She has, or if you want to read through what you have, Margie, that might be good.
Okay. I am state of Tennessee certified as a codes inspector. I have 13 certifications through ICC. I have plumbing plans examiner, mechanical code official, building inspector, building plans examiner, mechanical inspector, ICC housing and property maintenance inspector, plumbing inspector, plumbing code official, housing code official, mechanical plans examiner, building code official, residential combination inspector, and zoning inspector.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Meredith, seconded by Commissioner McCamey, and Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely in support of this. I just wanted to follow up. What's Mr. Crowley's title? Sorry. What will Mr. Crowley's title switch to? Is he going to remain employed, or is anything changing?
He will no longer, once she receives final confirmation, if she receives final confirmation from full commission, he would no longer be the building commissioner. So we could still utilize him on a part-time basis if she were ill or anything like that. So,
Okay,
yeah, he would just, he is already on a part-time status, but he maintained the designation as building commissioner. So he will lose that
So
designation.
it'd be like inspector or something like that? Or, okay, yeah, just curious. Thank you.
I don't really see using Dave at this point, David a lot. I mean, I think now he only gets 12 or so hours a week.
I work with Margie every week. She does a phenomenal job. I mean, I support this 100%. Very good employee.
Thank you, Jay.
And just for clarity, this is, we're recommending this to full commission.
That is correct. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think I misspoke. David doesn't get 12 hours a week. That's a pay period, I think. Yes. Every 2 weeks, yes. Okay. The next item on the agenda is requesting a motion to approve Resolution 2109-887. This is a resolution to allow the Anderson County Office of Planning and Development to accept credit cards as a payment option.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Have a motion and second, motion by Commissioner Scott, seconded by Commissioner Mead. Any discussion? Commissioner McCain.
You're saying credit cards and debit cards,
Yes, sir.
and what's the percentage that is passed on to the customer?
So in the resolution, we can, by law, only collect what we are charged. So I don't know, I really don't know what that fee is. We are just now standing that up with EMS, animal control, dental clinic. Do you know what it is yet? We don't. Right.
I know if I purchase my tags for my car, it costs an extra $3.50 or something, and I was just wondering why on a debit card, we have to charge that. Do we have to charge that? I know there's probably a charge to the county, but couldn't there be something set up to take care of that?
You can, by law, you can waive those fees, and just the county absorbs that fee. You can. The standard is to pass them along, and then you can only pass along what's actually charged. I have reached out to David Connor with County Services Association to see if there's something the state can do, because really local government is very far behind the rest of the world in terms of electronic payment. And so it would seem to me that there might be something the state could do through Treasury. I know the Department of Treasury has done a lot of advancements over the years themselves. And it would be nice if they could create a mechanism for us to participate where there would be no fees for local government. And it would encourage, as you see, I'm having to come every time, and then Robbie has to go set up an individual separate clearing account. So we're opening new bank accounts when we do this in order to have this convenience for the taxpayer.
I know a lot of convenience stores now, Weigel and Get Go, that have a no-charge ATM. And I don't know how they do that, but, if I go to my bank, they don't charge me, but if I go to another ATM outside of that, it costs me $2 or $3. Maybe, I think once I paid $4.50 to get $20, it cost me
Yes.
$24.50, so.
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
I work at Y-12 Federal Credit Union. The reason why Weigel's doesn't charge or can waive a fee is they own that machine. It's up to them.
And then when you have the machines that you swipe, you're using another company. That's where they
Correct.
get their money, 'cause that's what
Correct.
we do in
Yeah.
business, 1.5% to 2%.
Weigel's probably owns a bank themselves. In other words, they're so large that they're just rolling the funds going into that account and coming back out.
I did talk to Harry Gross, who's the vice president of Truist, about this because I serve on a board with him, and I asked him, is there a way to create a vehicle for local government? This seems like an untapped area. He did share with me that actual checks, physical checks, are the most expensive part of banking. So for county government, for instance, when you look at us having large accounts with a local bank, you would think they would want to pay us to, to house our money there. But because we're processing, the number of checks that we process for planning and the trustee's office and the cash we process, that's where the fees are. That's where the cost is for them. So, especially when you look at the risk of bad checks. So, you know, we can continue, Commissioner McCamey, to be on the lookout, and I know there's pretty much a couple of standard vendors that local governments use, but maybe there are others that are going to get into this business, and we can make sure we don't enter into any long-term agreements in order to take care of that. And
I know most of them have it posted, you know, that, oh, if you use a debit card or credit card, it's gonna cost you another 2% or 3%.
right.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, but in that, we're prohibited by law of exceeding whatever the charge is. I think it's really easy to answer, well, that charge is because that's exactly what it costs us to accept a card from you.
Yeah.
And to me, that just seems easy to answer
Right.
and absolutely fair, because they could write us a check, which actually costs more to process for the banking folks, and not pay anything extra. But if they want to use the convenience of a credit or debit card, I just think it's just so easy to say, yeah, that extra fee is because that's exactly what it costs us to take it from you. And, you know, where's the argument in that? Thanks.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Okay, next up, I just, EMA is going to just provide a brief update for you on their activities, just so that you know what's going on, and there was a memo that was included in your agenda packet. Steve?
All right, the list of equipment, I'm getting ready to let you know what we've bought and what we have. The majority of it, 90+% of it's been bought on grants that we've been able to obtain, and it's been given to us through the state as well as the national end of it. Communications, we've spent a lot of money on the communication end of it, simply because when you get on the scene, I gotta talk to you, I gotta talk to you, and we can't stand in a group. You got your job to do, you got your job to do. So it's gonna sound like a lot of radios, but with the different organizations we've got around us, they're utilized on the scene. We purchased a digital vehicular repeater system to enhance communications or the lack thereof in the event of an emergency. It's a mobile repeater, or their DVRS. It's a repeater in a box for better communications with portable and mobile radios used by first responders. It can be set up anywhere and used to improve communications at large-scale incidents or events. The DVRS can be set up inside a vehicle or a building and left unmanned with an external battery. Works off a tri-band radio and communicates with UHF, VHF, 7 and 800 megahertz. In conjunction with that, we've updated radio patching capabilities with ACU 1000 and all new radios for UHF, VHF, and 7 and 800 megahertz. The ACU 1000 can link multiple or all bands for communication between frequencies, so everybody can talk together. Anderson County Sheriff's Office is on an 800 megahertz system on a large-scale event, or even an event with our volunteer departments who use UHF and VHF. Say they're searching for a missing adult. We can have dispatch link the radios out in the field so our first responders can communicate together. This piece of equipment is located on Hazmat 1, which is our large hazmat truck, which there's somebody here when we first got the truck. How many years? 18? When the big Homeland Security grants started coming out, I'm gonna tell you, maybe it was because it's alphabetical order, or they kind of liked me, but we got over $900,000 that year in a grant. So we're still adding to that truck, as well as all the equipment that came with it. On the aspect of searching for a missing person or other stuff, EMA's purchased a DJI Mavic 2 Pro. If you got children or grandkids, that they probably know what we're talking about, but I've seen them, but we've got one now, and we've got employees that are great at running it. It's a high-quality drone, and it's equipped with warning device, a 1280 camera, and a thermal imaging camera. It can be launched and used in hazmat incidents, send it downrange for a better view of the situation for command and other support staff. It can be used in wildfire situations to determine where the fire spread to and the amount of damage. It can be used in a missing person or detect body heat during the search. Several Middle Tennessee counties participate in the search for the missing individuals in the recent plane crash near Nashville using this same technology. In planning and preparing for disasters, the EMA has updated the trailer that will be equipped with supplies for distribution points. 26-foot enclosed trailer has an array of items such as hard
Hey,
hats,
Steve.
gloves. Yes, sir.
Before you go on, I think Commissioner Wandale's
I'm
got
sorry.
a question.
Sorry, Steve, I just wanted to jump in there on that drone you were speaking of.
Yes, sir.
Do we have somebody licensed or somebody trained that can fly the drone?
We do. He works for EMA.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So in other words, we've got 2 missing people that's missing Campbell and Anderson County now for 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. I've not heard anything about it other than Facebook, and that's what bothers me, but
Yeah.
that's not Steve's fault or anyone else's
No,
fault.
but that may be a resource that we call.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
it seems like we'd have more feedback from sheriffs, or I don't know what the deal is there, if it's on, because it's on the line or whatever, but it's kind of quiet, and you don't hear nothing about it, and I'd like to hear more about it, but that's not the purpose of your presentation. I
That's okay.
apologize to get off.
Yeah, it was just something, because I could read his mind. We were, yeah.
Well, I'm bad. If I don't ask you when it's on my mind, I'll forget
Yeah.
that I had it on my mind later on.
Well, sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
That's okay. In the trailer, we've got hard hats, gloves, back braces, safety vests, canopy, tents, coolers, chairs, tables, dollies for heavy boxes, and a pallet jack to move around pallets of materials at distribution sites. It can hold up to 3 pallets for water, food supplies, and blankets. It can also be used in other situations such as response to disasters, hauling equipment, and a cool-down area for prolonged searches. With the grant money we received from the U.S. Department of Energy for coordination to responding to local DOE facilities in the event of emergencies, we purchased 10 700, 800 megahertz radios that are stored at the Emergency Operating Center. Along with these radios, we have 6 tri-band radios that have been purchased for EMA staff for the response effort. Anybody go to Gatlinburg on the big fire? They had a great setup, and if it wasn't for radios, it'd have been even worse a disaster than what it was. They had real good communication set up there. We focus on training in the incident command system and TEMA training. We provide Anderson County first responders training required through FEMA and TEMA. EMA's provided first responders with hazmat awareness and hazmat operations training courses taught in-house. These classes are for the response to hazmat situations. They're also provided to our region correspondents if they are needed. County responders can be trained to the level to be able to respond in our jurisdiction as well as surrounding counties and throughout the county. In the past year, Anderson County's held ICS 300 and 400 classes in-house for our response agencies in the area. 2 classes provide advanced knowledge for command and command staff on scene of incidents. We've also held a hazmat operations course to train responders for basic operations on a hazmat scene. Our hazmat team is a team ready to be deployed at a moment's notice. We have developed a even better working relationship with the city of Oak Ridge. You've got a new chief that's come in, as well as a young assistant chief. They both are aggressive, futuristic looking. They want to work with everybody around and be a help and be an asset. So with them, we hope to take on a whole new look with the county EMA. It's just like everybody else, shortness of people as far as qualified and trained individuals. So we have to reach out. We're a small group in-house in the county, and if it wasn't for Anderson County and Clinton Fire and the volunteers, there would nothing get done. We'd be sitting waiting on Knox County or Campbell County to come in and help us. We're ready to be deployed at a moment's notice to chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear emergencies. Hazmat team leaders consist of 2 highly trained hazmat specialists and an array of hazmat techs that can respond to any of those emergencies in our region of the state. We've got 2 vehicles, Hazmat 1 and Hazmat 2. In the event of it's called a CBURN, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear event. Hazmat 1's fully capable response vehicle that houses our Level A, Level B, and Tyvek suits, as well as all our monitoring equipment and decon supplies. It has a command post in the truck with computer for easy research and documenting the event as well as the ACU 1000 previously mentioned to help patch different radio frequencies. Hazmat 2 is a smaller spill truck, and its primary role is response to hazardous spills. It houses our equipment and to contain and mitigate using absorbent mats and other necessary PPE. If I made that through without using vulgar language, I have succeeded. So that's us in a nutshell. I will let you know that the group of people that I have been blessed to work with do a great job. And that's all the firemen, as well as Karen Newton, who most of us here remember Lynn Chilcote. She had the opportunity to work with Lynn before Lynn passed away, and it's like Lynn never left. So I've been blessed 2 times in my
Yes, you
EMA
have.
career. Yes. Any questions? We appreciate the commission's support pretty much on everything we've ever asked you to do, and you don't know how much easier it makes our job when we can do that.
Keep up the good work.
And we appreciate you all.
Next, Art is just going to give you a brief update on the dental clinic. Things have been going so well. I encouraged him to come and share some of the progress. And you all support this program, and what it means to the people in need is a lot. So I thought he'd share just a little brief highlight.
I'm just passing those in. Good evening, and thank you for letting me come tonight. I wanted to get in kind of the nitty-gritty on our numbers for last year so that you'd have a good idea of where your tax dollars for this budget is going and then what's coming back in to help offset some of those costs. Of course, last year was a difficult year. There were some months that we could only see emergency patients because of the COVID. Our new dentist, Wes Wisnett, didn't get to start until the end of July. So we had some months that we didn't perform very well because we just couldn't. But over the whole year, I felt like we really did great. Our total expenses last year for 2021 were $373,139. Our patient revenues at the dental clinic here in Clinton at the health department, this includes the fees and TennCare insurance that we're able to collect, was $176,110. Our safety net grant for last year was $50,771, and that was a large grant because they did provide, because of COVID, they gave us some extra funds last year to help offset some of the time that we're losing. So that really helped us. So that gave us $226,881 for the clinic here. Our Emory Valley Dental Clinic, which is our volunteer clinic where dentists in the community and then Dr. Rainey brings the UT resident students out twice a year. And we have those clinics once a month. They are extraction clinics. We lost about 3 months, maybe 4 months of having clinics because of the COVID there. The patients weren't showing up. The dentist didn't feel real comfortable. And so we did lose some because of that. We collected $7,975 from, and that's strictly patient fees, the ones that those could pay. And then we got another $13,771 from Safety Net. So a total of $21,686. So our total revenue, including grants for our dental program, including both clinics, was $248,567. So and of course, then our expenses was $373,139. Less the revenue, left what the county had to put in, didn't get reimbursed, was $124,561.91. So we were able to recover about 67% of our expenses, which in a year like this, I thought was very good. At the clinic here, we accepted 853 new patients, and we saw 1,818 unduplicated patients that were return patients. At the Emory Valley Clinic, we saw 36 new patients and 116 unduplicated patients. For Clinton, we did 1,804 exams, 448 cleanings, 910 extractions, and 719 fillings. For Emory Valley, 121 exams, 404 extractions, 10 fillings, and 23 cleanings. Dr. Lee and Dr. Barton in Oak Ridge still come. They try to come once a month and take care of those folks who are really in need of some restorative work. So we certainly appreciate them, volunteering that time, and that's really great. Now that we have a new full-time dentist at the health department, when I don't have a volunteer dentist down there, then I can pull from up there and bring the staff down. The problem is that we don't have enough dental assistants that volunteer, so we have to bring the dental assistants, and so it makes it harder to try to have both clinics running on the same day. But we're hoping, we're getting encouraged that the volunteer dentists are going to start bringing their own assistants, so that'll help us down there, and so we can have both going at the same time. But I thought what you'd really like to know is that Anderson County provided, and these numbers are based probably on 2019 charges, 2018, what would regular charges be for these patients. You provided $470,699 worth of dental care to the citizens in Anderson County, plus another $50,645 at the Oak Ridge Clinic. So the average charge was $259 per patient. And then for the Emory Valley, which are, extractions, it would have been $437, which is cheap. We have folks come in there wanting, 12, 13 teeth pulled or all their teeth pulled. And so the average paid by the patient or by the grant was $125 here and $186 in Oak Ridge. Our in-kind also included $37,756 that we did for the schools. Because of COVID, we only were able to do 5 schools. We did 2 county schools and then the 3 Clinton elementary schools. But our numbers were really down, of course, because of COVID. But I'm really proud. We have a great team. Dr. Bible is still helping us on Fridays, and then when we go in to the schools, we're waiting on an MOU agreement with Anderson County to try to get back into the schools. We already have it set up for Clinton, and we're working on Oak Ridge schools. That's a big plus because it is TennCare for a lot of those, and that does help come back into the coffers to help those citizens that just can't pay. So I only know one other county that has a clinic like ours, and that's Monroe County. And so I'm just real proud, and I thank you for letting me come back and work with this some and keep it going. It would have been very difficult, I know, for Charles to have tried to keep the dental clinic going, especially this past year. I think we ran into a few problems because of all of the testing and the vaccinations that they were doing. Our patients couldn't get into the dental clinic. So I worked with him and I asked, let's reserve some parking for our dental patients because some of them were handicapped and it was hard for them to park far away. So that worked out. But I think, if it hadn't been COVID, I think we'd had probably the best year we've ever had. But still, 226,000 for here and another 21,000 for Oak Ridge, I think is pretty good. So.
I want to say thank you. I've worked with this program when we first got started in the inception. We've come a long way, and you do a great service to a lot of the children in our county. Thank you.
Thank you, and like I say, we have a great team. We've got a big clinic this Friday at Emory Valley. Dr. Rainey's bringing his students, so I hope that'll be a good. The biggest problem is just no show. Make appointments, they don't come. But I'm kind of putting them far out if they don't show. If they call me and tell me they can't come, that's one thing. But if they just don't show, then we're doing that. We are looking, our chairs, a couple of the chairs at the Clinton Clinic are very old. When we moved in, those were installed, and they're having quite a bit of trouble with them. So we are looking at maybe in the future to replace those. And also try to reconfigure our front office there because it's very small. And now with the electronic medical records, they really need more desk space, for data entry instead of, storage space. But anyway, I invite you please to come by and see us at either clinic, and you can always get a hold of me.
And express our gratitude to Dr. Rainey too. He's one of the guys behind the scenes that, that don't want any praise. He just gets it done.
Yes, he's fantastic. He's been so supportive.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Art, and thank you, Commission, for letting him make a report. And we need to get, I don't think we've brought Dr. West up here, have we?
No.
Have you all met Dr. West? He's the new dentist, and I think he went to Memphis. He's a Memphis grad, Memphis Dental School. But I know we did take some revenue loss because of COVID, and so we will be able to count that in our American Rescue Plan funding. But you can still see by those numbers the sheer amount of work we do. And then also Art's trying to, last month, I believe, or month before, you approved the credit card, and they do deal with that a lot. That's going to help as well with the patients. Next on the agenda is the Claxton Playground. I just wanted to let you all know that I did get that resolution sent to TDEC. They already are in process in developing a work plan. They should have a final plan for us very soon. I also know that I forwarded it on to TVA as well, but I know that TDEC has reached out to them because as per, I guess, policy, when we go test or TDEC tests for us, then TVA is going to want to do split samples for their own records. And then I also reached out to TVA to see if they had any analysis, and that just came in today. So when I get back, I will distribute that to you all. I just didn't have time because it was finance, then purchasing, then this meeting. So it came in right as I was coming up for the finance meeting. The Director of Remediation, Mr. Sanders, he was in town with the Deputy Commissioner, and we did do an on-site visit to American Nuclear. And so we should have something in writing from them soon on a plan of action there. And I will express to you, I don't want to put words into their mouth or anything, but they are excited about opportunities and working with Anderson County and maybe just getting this cleaned up for, once and for all. So we should have something soon on their plan of action. I know they've already put a couple of things in motion. I don't know exactly what. This is not my area of expertise. But I hope to have something soon about a path forward for that particular plan. So that's good news.
Commissioner Wandell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor, so the commissioner for TDEC,
He's the deputy commissioner,
and he came out, you said, and toured American Nuclear?
Yes, there was, I cannot remember, there was another, so the head of remediation is Mr. Sanders. He was here, and the deputy commissioner, Gregory Young, and I feel horrible. I can't remember the gentleman. He's been with TDEC working in this particular area for 25 or 30 years. So he brought the old files on the American Nuclear site, the old typewritten files. And we went on site last Friday. We all had to wear, and I don't know all of the equipment. I just know I had to wear some type of, is it called dosimeter or? Dosimeter, okay. And then we had to have our shoes tested and everything, but we walked around that to see what the site, because Mr. Saunders and Mr. Young had not been on site, and they were asking a lot of questions themselves about the history and why hasn't this been, they were asking a lot of the same questions we've been asking. So hopefully we'll make some progress.
Did they happen to mention if they've been in contact by or from EPA?
They did say they have reached out to EPA already. So I think there's something to be negotiated in terms of giving Tennessee control over the site. I don't know what the legal details of that are, and I don't want to speak out of turn and say something wrong. That's why I've been waiting for something in writing.
Thank you.
But yes, they have.
Good news. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
And I did put in the agenda report there that their team did go on site at the Claxton playground in order to develop the work plan for testing. So as soon as I get that all finalized, I will forward to you all, because I think they're going to want your blessing on it. Anything else on either of those? Okay, and then the last item, I have any other questions or topics that you would like me to answer or update you on, but the only other action item, we have been looking at the possibility or feasibility of EMS standing up a temporary monoclonal treatment site. And this is for folks that fit in certain categories and, who might end up needing hospitalization, and this is a way to get in front of a positive COVID diagnosis. And so Nathan and his team, Brian Schroeder, Bobby Joe, anybody else, Scott, all have worked on this. It is doable. We can move forward. We would need a location. Brian suggested the senior center because it is central to, the county. And we would be looking at a pilot program, 45 days perhaps, maybe 30, maybe a little bit longer if there's a lot of positive response. But the goal would be, number one, to provide the service for people. There would be no cost. Then number two, to raise awareness, because there is a lot of, there's so much about COVID out there that a lot of folks don't know about this particular treatment. And Nathan can speak to all of this, but I would like a motion allowing us to use the parking lot of the senior center. I've already spoken with Cherie about it. She's good, and we would work in a place that would still allow the seniors to park.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we allow the EMS department to operate the monoclonal antibody infusion treatment at the senior center parking area, parking lot. I spoke with Sheree about it today, and she's excited about it. She thinks it'd be a good idea to bring awareness. And like the mayor said, it is central in the county, so I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner McCamey, seconded by Commissioner Meade. Discussion? There's one question, Mayor, that
Yes, sir.
I've got, and I was sent this question to ask, is what it would liability to the county be?
I'll let Nathan handle that.
So this is a patient care treatment situation. So there are forms that have to be signed. The resident would have to call us in advance, day prior, has to have a physician orders for them to get this. So there is quite a bit of a process, and we're actually going to have to do some communication on the front end to the citizens of Anderson County on how this process is going to go. But there is things that the person that's getting the treatment is going to have to sign off on as well. We're also working under our medical director, so it's kind of, you involve in patient care treatment, you do have a bit of an openness to this, but there is they're not just driving up and us giving them the therapy and then them driving away. There's a pretty well-defined process on this for it to be able to be done.
I think Chairman Anderson just went through the same thing, and I think he can speak about it.
Yeah, I was a breakthrough case and had the injections done, and because I'm type 1 diabetic, I met the criteria. And like you said, it's the doctors kind of review it with you and prescribe it or whatever. But from my experience, it worked out pretty well. I think it's a good thing that we're going to offer the service.
And I guess if we could even communicate, I guess now, this is recorded, for citizens that are watching this, what monoclonal antibody therapy is, they have taken patients that have had COVID, and they have assessed and pulled labs to find the strongest antibodies in response to fighting COVID, and they have researched that and duplicated those specific antibodies, and that is what you're getting. Mm-hmm. You're getting an injection of the duplication of the strongest antibodies that they've been able to find. And I believe Vanderbilt was actually a part of this process as well. And this isn't just a COVID thing. Ours monoclonal will be for COVID, but they're using the same type of therapy for other, like RSV and other illnesses that are out there. So this isn't something necessarily brand new as far as this type of therapy, but COVID is new.
And it was 4 injections in the stomach, just
Yes,
like
sir.
the short syringe, and I went in and got it, sat there for a minute, went outside and sat in the parking lot, and they kind of wave and check on you every few minutes. So it's about a 45-minute, hour-long process, but just
Right.
kind of felt like a pinch. It wasn't like,
Right, I've
bad,
actually gone
yeah.
through the therapy
Right,
myself as well. So there is 2 ways to do it, and there's quite a bit for us to review on that end. There's 2 ways. There's IV administration over an hour's length, or there's the 4 in abdominal, all 4 quadrants of your abdomen. It is an injection. And they do have to wait for 45 minutes to an hour after, and we would do assessments while they waited as well.
And what would the charge be to the citizen who wanted to use it?
None.
Nothing.
We get the monoclonal therapy for free.
Okay.
So we would have minimal cost in regards to equipment that we use. And technically, yes, you can bill insurance for this, but probably the workload to get that done and what you're going to recover on something that we're getting for free, we don't feel it would be as beneficial. We'll still look into that, but we're not going to feel it's going to be as beneficial.
Now, how would somebody do that? Do you have to have a doctor's recommendation?
You have to get, it is. You have to get you have to have received a positive COVID test and have a physician to send you and sign off on getting the monoclonal antibody therapy. You have to have that in advance. And they would actually set it, we're going to set it up to where you will have to set up an appointment with us in advance. So there's no arrive day of, there's no just drive up and say, hey, I think this is a good idea, I'd like to take this. It's all done in advance. It's all done in a certain window for us to be able to provide it.
Okay. Commissioner Scott.
Of course, I have questions, a few of them. Who's the doctor that's going to be on site doing this?
So Dr. Meredith Reddington, our medical director, is the one that's signing off on this program. I do not believe a physician has to be on site for us to do this.
How many days a week are you looking to do this?
Looking to do Monday through Friday.
What hours?
We're still flirting with the hours. We've talked to other EMS services that have done this, and they do like a 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, but you have to be there at 7. We would probably look more at a 9:30 arrival, and that you would, basically, you're showing up between 9 and 9:30, and those are the people that we're treating, and that's it for the day.
So who's giving the injections?
Our medics will be.
How many medics will you have there?
I guess it depends on the demand. If we have one person, then we'll have one medic for sure, and we'll have other personnel that'll be there as well to help with the administrative side of things. If we have 20 people set up, then we'll probably get 2-3 medics that can help with the administration. Some EMTs will help with the vital assessments that we'll do.
So you're going to have a whole crew out there?
Depending on the load.
Okay.
Right.
Are they being paid overtime?
If they're on overtime, yes, ma'am, they will.
Okay.
By
This
law,
is the
anybody.
same, these are the same shots that, I can hear myself really loud. The same shot series that Jim is giving McBride at Clinton
Yes.
Drugs, correct?
Yes, Clinton Drugs, if you're a patient of Summit Medical, they do it. And I believe there was one more in the county that was looking to do it as well. I'm not sure if they've gotten approval, or there's a process you have to go with through HHS to get approval and be signed up to do it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Commissioner Wandell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nathan, are you gonna be located inside, or are you gonna have a trailer, or what's?
Still kind of working through that. We're looking at doing some tents, having it outside. A good operation, I saw actually Summit Medical, the operation they had, the people would drive up in their vehicle. You would actually administer the shots while they resided in their vehicle. They remained in their vehicle and remained on site. And therefore, now you're not having to deal with as much cleaning, turnover of people coming in, coming out, being in a confined county building. They remain in the parking lot. If they had any issues, honk the horn, we immediately come over, but you probably check them about every 15, 20 minutes and go over to their vehicle and check them there.
Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you for letting me speak again. I was talking to Commissioner Waddell's wife in the audience of the Finance Committee, and she mentioned UT Hospital has 170 active COVID cases today where she works. So just reiterate, the hospitals and other healthcare facilities are just swamped right now. So anything like this we can do off-site, like Nathan's saying, kind of keeping people outside safe, I think everything we can do helps with taking pressure off the hospitals for people to go for treatment.
And I believe these treatments are provided at the hospital for inpatient only, though. And I guess to follow back up, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Scott, we will be pursuing and seeking volunteers. Of course, they have to be licensed. There's some hoops for us to kind of run through with that. Because as a clinical provider, you can't just go out and do whatever you want to do.
Right.
You have to fall under a physician and physician orders to be able to do that. So we will be pursuing, maybe on some ends, if we can get volunteers so that we're not having to take the whole workload and the whole cost of people to be able to be there. So I think maybe on the admin side, people helping collect paperwork, maybe even some on the nursing side and EMT side that may be out there to volunteer to do vital assessments, but the actual administration will have to be somebody that falls under the physician that has written those.
Is this not something you can tie in with the health department? Wasn't that where people were getting tested for COVID? Where we had the National Guard all set up?
From our perspective, the parking lot and capacity at the health department wasn't the most ideal. As far as partnering with them on staffing, we're more than happy to reach out to them on that as well. So we're still finding all of the details out. We wanted to present to this body and then to full commission for the support of commission to pursue this. If you guys say, and need to ask those questions, absolutely. But if you guys say, hey, we just don't think this is the right thing for Anderson County to do, then we won't be pursuing that. But there's still quite a bit of us to figure out on this as well.
Well, and just for the purpose, Mr. Chairman, for tonight, I'm voting no, and it's simply because I want more, concrete information, as opposed to, well, we'd like to do this, and we have plans for that, and we might have this many people. I'd like something more formal.
Commissioner Meade.
Yeah, I was looking at a table about this program, not this specifically, but nationwide program for this. And it's very, very detailed. I mean, the table is broken down by ages and pre-existing medical conditions, the height, weight, for a doctor to prescribe this, there's very, very stringent guidelines. And so those guidelines really, they screen out like under 10. Man, you have to meet a lot of restrictions if you're 10 or under. I mean, there's weight and height and a whole bunch of other things before they'll administer this. And then it goes up to 12 and to a certain age, and I mean, it goes up in ages. And then at each age, if there's also an existing medical condition or an existing medical situation that this person is in, it could be overweight, it could be a bunch of things. It's really very detailed. And those are the requirements before the doctor can prescribe it. And so this is not something that's being willy-nilly. This is a very well-established and researched program. This is how many people we have available over a day. That's something you just have to manage in anything we do. But I'm very much in favor of the county. Since we have a capability, we need to make this available. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Commission. I think this is going to be very well received. I went to a mayor's conference, and Mayor Reasons from Crockett County is doing this, and so that's where the idea originated. I'm sure you've heard anecdotally, a lot of folks, when they get diagnosed with COVID, they're basically told, manage your symptoms, go home. If you get really bad, come back. And there are treatments that are out there like monoclonal that can make a difference and prevent that hospitalization if you're working with your doctor. And so our goal with EMS is not to take business away from anybody, but if there is an opportunity where we're able to, through resources, get this medication for free and then help raise awareness. We don't have to be in the business for a long time, but I think this will be a feather in your cap as a county commission to get something like this done for our citizens. So I appreciate it. That's all I have in terms of action items, unless you have anything else or any questions for me.
Commissioner Wandell.
Wolf Valley,
Yes, sir. We got the bids in. The budget amendments were approved at Budget Committee, so once that is approved at full commission, if it is approved, we will enter into a contract. The building that is on the location that needed to be torn down, that's been demolished. We're just, as soon as we have the funds, we can do the contract and do the purchase order and set the start date.
but finance passed it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Then Pine Meadows, you had a final report?
I do not have it yet. I thought I might have it by tonight, but they are, I mean, they sent me a draft copy. They had a few little things that they needed to finish up. Per some of the stuff was with our county regulations, and they wanted to verify that they had that correctly. So we should have a final report any day.
Mayor, I need to get some more assistance.
Yes, sir.
At Pine Meadows. Not, I know you're working on the zoning information, and I know it takes time, and I appreciate your help, but Pine Meadows, we've got some serious issues. I'll reach out to the sheriff, but I need some sheriffs in Pine Meadows driving through on a regular basis. We have people walking on people's trailers who are on drugs. We had a gentleman get beat up and died, and these things, the people that beat him up apparently went into the home and hung out in the home while he was in the hospital. And I'm getting a little bit agitated that I'm not hearing anything from our sheriff's department. Now, to their defense, I haven't spoken to anybody and I haven't called anybody, but you know, I just don't know what's going on, but we got to have some protection for the people that do pay their taxes and deserve protection, regardless whether it's in the city or county roads or not. We gotta step up for these people. So I'll reach out to the sheriff, but I appreciate if you could help too. We just need to
Absolutely.
get some action there, and I look forward to the information on it.
Well, and one of the things that's very interesting that I've learned in this process and will give us some clarification in this final report, Pine Meadows was organized as a subdivision.
Correct.
And so,
Retirement subdivision.
yes, and so there is, my understanding under our zoning regs is if it is a mobile home park, that there's a requirement. So for instance, you all dealt with one individual recently looking at a rezoning request. With a trailer park or mobile home park, whatever you want to call it, they do have a responsibility to maintain the roads. Because this was organized as a subdivision, it has a different structure, but yet it's operating as a mobile home park, which has been part of untangling all of this web. But I will definitely personally reach out to the sheriff as well and do whatever I can do to help.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I do know that Chief Sexton actually reached out to us in zoning. I don't know if he talked to you, Danny, or Margie, about tackling a lot of the issues over there and working in conjunction with us. So,
And I'd like to help. I mean, I'm not blaming the sheriff's office or any of that. I'm just trying to let them know we need some extra support out there, and it's just getting bad. I don't know. It seems like the drugs are getting worse in our county. Again, in that particular area, it's really getting bad, and I feel like my hands are tied, but I'll make some calls too.
yes.
I appreciate the help.
Well, and I know at the end of your report tonight, Nathan has the overdoses or Narcan usage. And, you know, some of this is also, as he tracked, we've got a lot of infusion of cash out there in order to address some of the problems with COVID. But when it's put into the hands of people who are struggling with addiction, we've seen it lead to a rise in overdoses and a rise in Narcan usage and all of those things. But that doesn't, you know, I know that's hard for people that are trying to raise a family and live a normal life when they're dealing with people on drugs in the community. So. A lot of work to be done. Thank you all for letting me go first. I have to leave. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, we have the Holiday Bureau.
I am the president of the board of the Holiday Bureau. If you are not familiar with it, I'm passing around brochures. The number one thing we do is provide Christmas for the indigent people of all of Anderson County. It is free. They have to come and sign up and prove that they are low income and the number of people that are in their household. So our sign-ups will start in October. They will be every weekend. And then in November, we will be giving Christmas decorations. And then in December, we give the toys away. And how that works is the people come in and they choose what they want. So if you're not familiar with that, you know, I can answer any questions if you like. But what I'm asking today is the building next door to us on Emory Valley Road, the former Daniel Author building, I would like to use one of the rooms for approximately 6 weeks to 8 weeks to sign up our people, just for sign-ups and then Christmas decorations.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Meredith,
Second,
seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any questions?
I have a question.
Commissioner Scott?
Phil, the rooms that were being utilized for Bryson's Closet, are those rooms available? Or anything comparable to it?
The rooms on the north wing, where the Montessori wing, those are all being either utilized or saved for county use. So none of those would be probably available. I'm not the final say, but the south wing, as far east as the property goes, there are 2 or 3 rooms that are sizable that would probably serve the purpose.
Okay.
But I don't think we want to give up that north wing.
Okay. I'm looking for something comparable to what Bryson's Closet had.
I don't know I never saw the room that they were in.
When you step past the fire doors on the left-hand side, I believe they had those first 2 rooms.
That's county surplus right
Okay.
Yeah, I would say the south wing, the farthest east room or rooms, I don't know how many you need.
One large room would be
Okay.
adequate, or maybe 2, but it needs to be easily accessible from the outside. It would be good instead of having the clients come through the building.
There is a west entrance.
Yeah, there's an entrance on the back side,
Yeah,
which is actually close to where the Holiday Bureau
Right.
is.
right. It would be, you'd have to work out access from that from that east entrance.
Okay.
But there are plenty of rooms available on that south wing. So the last 2 would probably be most convenient for you guys anyway.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
ones closest to where we are.
That would be the
Right.
best, I think.
Sorry.
Commissioner McCamey?
We have a motion and a second to approve this, but should the building and grounds director be involved? Is that who that she would need to contact to get a key or whatever?
I
Absolutely.
think that's a great idea, Commissioner McCamey. He's out right now and probably won't be back for a couple of days, but I'll send him an email when I get back tonight, and I'll let him identify the room and tell him what she needs. See if we can't have a specific room before county commission meets.
That would be
Yeah, that's fine. I think that Roger needs to be involved.
Yes, sir, I do too.
So,
I'll send him an email.
Commissioner Meade?
I think the important thing is that at this point, we approve that we're recommending to full commission that they supply a room, not a specific room, and that'll be worked out just like the law director just discussed.
Okay. Any other discussion?
what is her- Would you state your name again?
Sharon, Sharon. My last name is Crane, Crane. And I'm currently the president of the board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. We have a motion by Commissioner Meredith, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any other discussion? Commissioner Wandell.
Ms. Crane, we had a gentleman here many years ago come before us, and we helped out the Holiday Bureau with a financial donation.
Yes.
Is he still around?
Not that I know of,
Okay.
but I have heard that story many times.
Thank you.
Are you referring to Ron?
I don't remember the fellow's
No.
name. I just.
No, it wasn't Ronnie.
Ronald Langley, I remember one year he was president, and we did make a financial contribution to him. Also, the building that they're in is on Anderson County property.
Sure
Yes.
is.
Ronnie Langley is on our board. The building, you own the building, and we had a fundraiser and built the building. It's been 25 years ago, and our lease will be coming up within the next couple of years.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
And come visit anytime you want.
Contact information, email or phone number.
Does anybody need a break? You do?
Yeah, let's go
Okay.
out and warm up.
Let's take a quick break.
Too hot or too cold?
Usually it's warm by this time of the evening. It's not warm. I'm glad I got a jacket.
If you don't hear from him and say, Scott, if you don't hear by next week, you call me, okay?
That's just to give out the information.
When you're 9 years old dragging one, pick it up, boy, come on.
section was that? Which is the one on the community groups?
I just hand this to you.
Okay, do that. Make some notes on there, Steve. Those are all good thoughts.
Oh, this one.
been signed.
Yeah,
It just never has been signed.
there was administrative
It's just
issue,
signatures.
and it just didn't get signed.
Law director's gonna explain it.
The way I understand it is they tried to pull the version that was approved by county commission. There's no doubt it was approved. It's in the minutes. We actually talked about it, I think, at 3 different meetings, but they can't find the signature copy, either in my office or in the minutes, or Kim, that does our minutes for us, can't find it, Annette can't find it. We can't find a signature copy. So that's what it is. We'd basically be asking county commission, since we've got a new chair, we can't go back. We need to pass it as is again and give Josh the authority to sign it on behalf of county commission with no changes other than the signature line.
So you need a motion?
Motion approved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Wandell, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Jay, you're up next.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll try to be quick. The Marlow Volunteer Fire Department, that's a disbursement of insurance funds. I'll explain that to you. I've got Chief Box here. What it is they've been carrying insurance on the old Donovan School building for years. It's on county property. We lease it to them for 40 years. And what they'd like to do is have an agreement, I've drafted that for you, that in case there is a fire, that they'll be able to, as the county is the beneficiary of this policy, the county will give them that money back so they can reconstruct, remodel, re-equip the facility back at the same place. And they just want to make sure that they'll be able to get that money. I think that's always going to be the intent of county commission, but they would need an agreement in place, and this agreement does that, sir.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion approved by Commissioner McCamey, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Commissioner Meade.
I think it's particularly important to note that they're paying,
Yes.
the volunteer fire department is paying for this insurance, the county's not.
Yes,
So
that's
clearly,
correct.
They should be the beneficiary of any payments under the policy.
And we have no obligation, if you looked at the lease agreement, that there's no obligation for the county to rebuild it. So it's only proper they get the money.
Commissioner Wandell.
Thanks, Scott.
Go
Okay.
ahead, go ahead. I'm still trying to pull it up.
I'll certainly support this. I guess my question is, do we have this same policy, for instance, Claxton? Do they?
I don't know what their insurance policy reads, Commissioner Wandell. If you get somebody to send it to me.
I'd like to see it set
Yeah,
up at all.
and yes,
volunteer
any
fire
of them that's on
departments.
county property that have been paying their insurance. The other thing is we've noted a couple years ago that we're still carrying insurance on some of these properties. So it's like double insured, but ours is very cheap. But anyway, if you can find that out with Claxton, I'll do the same agreement for them.
Okay. I'll certainly
Commissioner Scott.
And I think Andersonville sits on our parking lot. Is that right, Stephanie? Stephanie seems to know about. Okay, is Andersonville on our parking lot there at the elementary school? I think it's on our property.
It is your property.
Okay.
But I wasn't for sure on the building. I actually have an insurance claim in right now, and the insurance company already, and it's for the building, they've already distributed a check to us.
Okay, well,
For that, so we carry.
you may have you yourself as a beneficiary then.
I think we may be, and on all three of our stations are on county property that is leased, but I believe. I think it's if the building is the county.
Can y'all bring this up at the fire commission the next time and just make sure we can get all of them taken care of like Commissioner Wandell
I
wants?
think we're okay.
Has everybody got Mr. Bowers still, Mark Bowers? Okay. All right, well, thank y'all. Thanks for bringing that up. Any other questions on this?
Jay, I'd
Yes,
like
ma'am.
to see the agreement be made out rather than a specific amount of time, because this 40-year lease is beginning to come back around. That this agreement at least be stated that however long that they're there providing their insurance. In other words, if 2 years from now, you know, for whatever reason.
Commissioner Scott, maybe it could be worded that as long as there's a lease in place between.
There you
Is that okay?
Very well.
I'll make that change. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Commissioner Scott.
Yeah, and if you could.
Right now, with no lease, I believe I put in there that if we don't renew the lease, this cancels or something, but I'm gonna put that wording in, that's no problem.
Yeah, in other words, I'd hate to see that there's any window.
So as long as there's a lease with Marlow Unit, the Anderson County Volunteer Fire Department, then this agreement will still be active.
Sure,
Okay,
yes.
thank you, ma'am.
And if you would, reach out to Shane and Denver, they're over Fire Commission, and simply ask them to provide information
Okay,
on the insurance policies for all of the other volunteer and rescue
yes, ma'am.
departments.
Commissioner McCamey.
Stephanie, the main building there on Grand Oaks, that's county property also, right?
Correct, it is county property, but the building is Marlow.
Okay.
So that policy is written separately, where the funds would go to the Marlow department because the building
said that we are paying on some of these properties?
I think we've cut most of that out, that we had doubly insured, but ours is much cheaper.
Okay, but if we do have it double insured, and we collect any monies on what we paid, should that go to the fire department?
That's
also?
up to you, sir, but we could handle that probably by motion.
Well, I think, I'm pretty sure that Dunman probably is covered by the county and Marlowe.
I've seen a few of them on there before when Kim was auditing that, maybe 3 years ago.
Well, I'd like to add that to the motion, that if it's double, that
Okay.
they still get both.
Get those, all those
proceeds from the
funds too.
county also, because we don't need it. I mean, not that we don't need it, but we're not gonna use it
Yes,
to
sir, I understand.
rebuild. So they would be the ones rebuilding, they should get the
Do
funds.
you mind making a separate motion so we can keep that in order? Because I think that we can take care of that with a motion, and it's not gonna be in this agreement.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Was there a second on that? I heard-
Yeah, Commissioner Scott.
Great.
Okay, and I'd like to make a motion that if, in the case where properties are double insured, that the fire department receive any money that the county would receive under our policy.
The county has it insured.
Yeah.
Got that, Annette? Okay, thank you.
Have a motion by Commissioner Kamey. Do we have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Wandell. Discussion on that motion.
I have a question.
Commissioner
Why
Scott.
would we have a piece of property doubly insured?
Because it's really an oversight, but what happens is there's a list of county properties, and it's very, very long. And we pay one large price for it. It really doesn't differentiate much. And when we saw this inventory list of what was on, actually, Tennessee Risk Management Trust came and visited us and wanted to go to all the locations. They identified some of these locations, like Donovan School, like some of the others, and we had already been covering them for years. They'd never been taken off the county insurance policy. We'd had them on there. I'm sure when we got Tennessee Risk Management Trust, they just gave them a list of assets many, many years ago, and this was the property that we held at that time.
So it's like a blanket certificate as opposed to a breakdown?
No, it's a blanket certificate with an individual listing of the properties.
Because then, if that being the case, I would suggest that the departments that have double coverage, that they pay the county for that portion, therefore giving them the right to have that insurance check. If you only have 2 or 3 different fire departments that have 2 different insurances, in other words, that's not
I
fair
think
for
they've
the other
straightened it
ones.
out, but his motion, Commissioner McCamey's motion, will take care of that if the county does receive any benefit. But I'll check with Kim, but I
Okay.
believe they've gone out and put eyes on each piece of property. They did an inventory of everything we had listed.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Meade.
It might be very difficult if you have a policy that just blanket covers all these county buildings. There's pages of properties on this. It'd be very difficult to know what the cost was related to a specific building.
Some of them, they can't tell you
Yeah.
that.
I mean, that's why I just don't.
They list, I saw the one from last year. They have the courthouse and DARC and the Jolly Building, the schools, they're all broke out.
So if they happen to be covered on the county blanket policy, I think it makes no sense to try to figure out what their share is and then bill them for it or something.
I'll talk with Kim tomorrow. That information is in her office, and I believe the mayor looked at the same issue last year, so we'll get it figured out.
Thank you, Jay.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you very much. Number 2 is a vehicle lease to Andersonville Volunteer Fire Department. What happened here is, you may recall, we leased them an '06 Crown Vic. The thing was a lemon, and we're taking that back under this lease and giving them a 2012 Dodge Charger that is a lot better working condition. Is that right?
Yes, we actually just had the one towed, the old one towed today down to the gravel lot
That's the,
That never moves out of the parking lot, so.
oh, wow, that's embarrassing. But anyway, we'll process that through surplus. Thank you.
Have a motion by Commissioner Meredith and then a second from
Sure, I'll take that.
Commissioner Scott. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you so much. I don't see the deer hunt resolution listed on your, is it on the back? Got redistricting on mine. But anyway, you want to take that up now? Any questions? It's the same resolution with the dates changed. There is one modification to it than the one that was sent out to you, what was that, yesterday? The mayor's not going to be available on November 5th for the drawing, so we've moved that back to the 28th of October at 2 o'clock. The resolution's been changed. That's the only difference than the one that was sent out to you via email. It's
Motion by Commissioner Meredith, seconded by Commissioner Mead. Any discussion?
I have one question. Jay, will this be advertised?
yes, sir.
Commissioner
We
Wendell.
had a strange situation last year that we've never had. We had about 70-something apply, drew 55, but only about, I have to talk to Nicole, about 26, 28 picked up. So that means there was a lot of spots that people didn't show. I don't know if they had tagged out or what the situation was, but it's been very popular the years we've had it, and certainly the juvenile turkey hunt's been very popular.
Could we have a second drawing?
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah, you want to try that, maybe the latter day if they don't start picking them up, but it's hard to tell, but
Give them until a certain date to pick up, and if they've not picked up, then that
Yeah,
spot
wrong,
becomes
wrong,
open,
yeah.
because I know a lot of people said I applied, but I couldn't get in, you know.
can I have your permission to add that to the resolution?
Yeah.
Okay, so the way it would read is if you don't pick up by a certain date, we have the ability to cancel that drawing of that individual's name and have another drawing
Right.
at a set time. Okay, I'll put that in there.
Yeah. Does that require a motion?
I'll just bring it, this is a recommendation to county commission. I'll have it fixed by the time county commission comes up.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you so much. Civil Service Board regs, we're pulling that. I need some additional input before I bring that to you. The Fireworks Private Act, the mayor needs to pull that. She wants to work on it with Margie and see if that's acceptable with her. It does require some work with, they'll be the enforcement arm of the county. The NKC, or MNK bankruptcy settlement, I sent that out to you last week. That's another one of those. They give us 3 days to vote. They cast a vote for Anderson County in favor of the plan. So that's a $1.6 billion. That's split in all communities, so there's not going to be a large windfall whatsoever. But our vote was cast, but we do need a vote to ratify that yes vote.
Motion approved.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Scott, seconded by Commissioner Wandell. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Okay. That's all I have. I brought the letter, a draft, to Commissioner Wandell on number 9, the Claxton Ballparks and Optimus Club. He's going to look at it, make some edits, get back with me. I believe that came out of intergovernmental. Is that correct, Commissioner Wandell?
Yes, we made
Okay. But anyway, we'll be talking back and forth. He's got the draft and hopefully have it finalized before Monday night. That's all I have for you. Anybody have any questions that I can help you with? I do appreciate you. Thank you.
See, that takes us to the funding mechanisms of donating to nonprofits. I guess that's for discussion. Commissioner Yeager?
I brought this up a little bit, about 3 weeks ago, full commission. Jay Yeager's helped me find the TCA regs that monitor the nonprofit donations, and Anderson County is not exactly following all the regulations properly, so I am working with the mayor and the finance department to try to get us in compliance. The funding policy from 2010, 2011 is probably a pretty good way to start reviewing and renewing our oversight. But some of the things that have bothered me is the lack of transparency that the nonprofits are required. They're really not required to show their 501c3 accreditation, their finances. They aren't required to show how they spend the money that we give them for purposes that they, I'm not going to call anybody out, but we don't have any way to know that what money we have given them has been used for the purpose. So there are a number of things that I'm working with the mayor to try to make things more accountable, make us follow the regulations of the state, and this will probably be a process that takes a little bit, but we're working towards it, and I'll certainly answer any questions. I have a decent amount of answers if anyone has questions, but we're working towards a resolution to fine-tuning this thing.
Well, I appreciate you doing that, because it's something that really needs to be done. And are you going to work that out of the nonprofit, or are you going to?
Well, I probably will eventually.
Yeah.
The nonprofit committee, I'd like, what my goal would be is the nonprofit committee come up with the rules, not be the funding mechanism, but the rules that are followed by, first stop is normally the budget committee. So I'd love to have this questionnaire answered, the 501c3 proof, and let's see. So there are a lot of ways that we can show the transparency, but this will probably eventually go through nonprofit for a meeting or two, just to fine-tune the rules.
Okay, thank you.
It's a work in progress.
Any other discussion or questions, Commissioner Yeager? Okay. The next thing is redistricting, which we'll be taking that up actually Thursday. And speaking of transparency, that's what we want to do. That's why we have so many meetings scheduled. And we got some handouts already, just be able to go over before Thursday's meeting. And although I met with Billy Brown, and although that it looks like the changes should be 3 and 4, but actually almost all the districts are involved in shifting this around. And what I know that every commissioner wants to do is go back and maybe redo some of their voting precincts. So that's what's going to be real important. So, and I think, again, transparency and letting the people know what's going on, because they don't want to come up at, when it's time to vote and say, who switched me over? Because that's, and for anybody to think that we're overloaded in commissioners, we're definitely not, just like what Commissioner Yeager's taking up now. I mean, every commissioner has got things they have to take care of, but a lot of time, it's just not coming to these meetings. I mean, there's a lot of homework that people do, and phone calls and emails. So all the commissioners here do a great job. With that being said, it's 6 o'clock. Well, we could actually go to 118. I think would be better for, a presentation, than we'll have the maps, and we'll just put a sign on here if anybody wants to come from the public. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then the final thing is Narcan use, EMS. Nathan?
I know we distributed a letter last month. I know Commissioner Wandell even brought it up earlier tonight, and I did pull some numbers just for August. We used Narcan 33 times in August. In August of 2018, we used Narcan 12 times. In 2019, August, we used it 10 times. In 2020, we used it 22 times. Now we're up to 33. If you even look at some of the data that was provided, and it is in there, going back to 18, 19, we were doing 40 times in 3 months. We're seeing that rise. And if you also consider the increased use of Sheriff's Department using Narcan, that's EMS Narcan use. Up in the Rocky Top, there's a lady called Narcan Angel. She goes around Rocky Top at night and administers Narcan to people there, and sometimes those people are gone before we get there. So if you consider our uses are increasing on our records, plus the Sheriff's Department use, and what people in the public use, and that means narcotic
We're looking
usage
about 3 times your number.
is significantly, if it's 3 times higher for us, but there's more people giving it than us now, the use of narcotics in Anderson County is significantly increased.
And District Attorney General Clark did an article in the paper last week, and I think there's probably one in the paper, about heroin use and the fentanyl use. And of course, he was out of town, and then we had a big slate tonight, but I'd like to invite him to come and talk about this, because just what Commissioner Wandale was talking about earlier, over in the trailer park, where you've got people that just running rampant. We've got it all across, because even if you'll look at what we gave out last month, Oak Ridge was the highest in the Narcan use, and then Clinton and Rocky Top. I mean, it's a problem everywhere.
Yeah.
And how do we deal with this? And, that's what Commissioner Wandale and I were talking about. We've got to support our law enforcement that can come in, and if there's not a supply, there's not a problem. So the less supply I think that we do away with, the less problem we have. But this Narcan use, that's just telling you how many people out there that are on the narcotics, the fentanyl, the heroin, because heroin's the cheapest thing out there now. And what does that do? Where do they get the money? Where they're stealing, other things, and, the catalytic converters. It's crazy, the people stuff. I've had them stole from my shop. The funeral home, Advance Auto, everybody, the car lots, and those are expensive. You're talking $300 to replace some of these, or some of them up to $900, especially if it's on a V10.
And this isn't definitely to spark any kind of alternate debate. In 2020, we saw our narcotic usage, or Narcan usage, significantly increase after every time we saw a stimulus. Every time that we got those additional funds that they weren't getting before, and now that we're also seeing a monthly increase that they're getting from federal government as well, we're seeing that every month. That's why our numbers, I believe, that's attributing to our numbers staying higher. They are having money come in on a regular basis that is helping to sustain that. I'm just telling you, our numbers showed in 2020, stimulus check hit, Narcan use went up.
The other thing that we're not seeing is the fact, I had some inmates come to work for me in my office, and I got to know them. 3 of them were in there for heroin. There's a black market or secondary market for Narcan. Most of your heroin addicts are carrying Narcan in their pocket.
They are.
And they do it with at least somebody else in the room just in case they OD, and it's not like ours, like Stephanie used to
Correct.
issue.
It's a nasal.
It's a vial.
Yeah.
And they just have a buddy there, and if you OD, they shoot you up, and we have no way of knowing how many. So it may be double what Nathan is seeing and law enforcement is seeing, but there's certainly a secondary market, a street market for Narcan now.
That's true.
It's hard for us to even measure it.
And honestly, the thing that really does scare me is when there's any kind of change away from narcotics to benzodiazepines, because Narcan won't touch benzos.
Is that I know we had a situation at the jail where they had applied some the Narcan and didn't bring them back, and then the deputies there, they did the chest compressions and all this other, and finally brought them back.
That was a terrible day. That's the day one of our, I believe the day you're talking about, we had 3 incidents, and one of them was one of our deputies had exposure to it. We had to do Narcan there.
Yeah.
So I think
They-
Might have been, that was fentanyl that somehow got into the facility, but, that was a rough day for us.
And they're taking higher doses of Narcan now. Sometimes we're having to give, where in the past, we'd give 1 milligram, 2 milligrams, and they'd be right back. Now you're seeing 8, 10, 12 milligrams of Narcan before it even starts touching. And also seeing that delayed response. Historically speaking, this was pretty fast acting, but now we're sometimes seeing it taking up 10 minutes or so before these people are coming around. So there's quite a bit of evolution in this that really does play a part as well.
These people have no idea the potency of, they can't look at it logically and test it. They've got to use what they think is the same dosage they've always used, but the potency may be 10 times more, loaded up with, it's cut with fentanyl. And there's no formula for how much you put in there. You may have somebody that they step on it several times as it gets to Anderson County, and they say, okay, this is weak, let's load it up with some fentanyl, give it some potency. Well, you have no idea what that potency is. So that's how comes we're finding people dead with a syringe in their arm. That's how quickly they go.
And there's definitely a lot more to
It's a
this.
terrible situation.
I mean, we're seeing depression, anxiety, mental health issues escalate significantly since 2020. And that's going to attribute and make this worse because those people are looking for relief. And on mental health, the healthcare system that America has is grossly, for years, grossly under-addressed mental health. And if these people, and once, I know several people that have become addicted to drugs, and this is something they deal with for a very long time. It's not a quick fix. And so this is something that we as a county will be dealing with for quite some time.
Appreciate you, Nathan.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The benzos, what are like the common names? What are those?
Ativan, Valium.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around what.
So again, the narcotics, they address those receptors or the Narcan that addresses those receptors for narcotics, but they don't work with. There's alternate drugs. We used to carry it. McCamey, I'm sure, bought it for years. It's called Romazicon. Has significant side effects, including seizures. Matter of fact, we stopped carrying it, I think, in 2003 or 4, because back then a vial cost $100. But it has significant side effects that Narcan doesn't have.
Have the Narcan costs, was it 2018 that we started using Narcan?
I've been in EMS since 1998, and we had Narcan back then, so we've had Narcan for a really long time.
How's that cost doing with that?
It goes
Not just the
up.
increased usage, but
It goes up. We were, probably 5 years ago, we were paying $9 a vial, and we're paying $33, $37 a vial. Sometimes we can get it lower, and we try to buy it in bulk. But it's significantly higher. As we've seen with most, the EpiPens and some of the prices, it's almost like they've mass produced it, so they've increased the price on it. But everything, healthcare has gone up in the last 2 years especially.
Everything's gone up.
Yeah. Lumber's come down a little bit from where it was, but
Everything's gone
Any other discussion or questions of Nathan?
it's just data to bring.
I sure appreciate that. I
Yes, sir.
really do. And this is a big concern for Anderson County. It's a big concern for the nation, but Anderson County is what we got to look at right now. And I would like for Mr. Channel 95 to come up and introduce himself. You set the camera on you, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Set up right here. It's been where it is. I'm here. I'll probably be here recording some of your meetings from now on.
Who are you?
My name is Aaron Miller. You might know my dad, Judge Miller, out of General Sessions 2 in Oak Ridge.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm working over there at ACTV, whom we're doing your meetings and stuff, so.
Cool.
And where are you a student at?
I go to Clinton High School.
Okay. And you're a junior or senior?
I'm a senior this year.
Senior this year.
Yes, sir.
Aaron, are you the one that plays baseball too?
Yes, sir. That's me, yes.
Yeah.
Baseball player.
Well, we sure appreciate you
Yes, sir.
and we wish you good luck and we all get text messages, you know, if you can't hear or something's going on, so just be prepared.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman,
Thank
I'll
you.
just make sure that my wife has Aaron's cell phone. You won't be able to get no work done, Aaron.
This was not a setup. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Just one thing under new business, I think McCamey had to step out, but I had somebody ask me about, and maybe Phil might know about this. The senior center is having ROTC folks at the senior center, and are they staying the weekend? It sounds like they're staying the weekend at the center, and
I remember when they were shopping for a place to park things. They looked at the Emory Valley building, and the senior center did accept them for storage and for, I think, weekend, not maneuvers, but yeah, training. So that's probably what you're seeing over there.
it is, I was just wondering, I was gonna ask McCamey if it was having any kind of impact on the seniors' budget. I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
I can't imagine it's that much, but I had some seniors approach me and
Oh,
ask
okay.
me, and did I know about it? And the last thing I remember, we had agreed to give space over at the Daniel Arthur building, and I didn't recall we did the senior center.
Yeah,
They're at the
they
senior
did.
center and they're allowed to hang their banners there.
Mhm,
and-
exactly, yeah. They
Yeah.
have a more permanent place at the seniors than they would
Yeah.
have at Daniel Arthur,
They have
so,
all that space.
yeah. So, yeah, Robert.
I guess the
No.
question is, you know, and I'm not trying to be picky here, but I mean, if the group that comes in uses things like waters or other things, toilet paper, I mean, I know it's county funds in some essence, but I guess there might need to be some discussion between that group and the seniors on who's gonna help out with certain things, I guess. Because the seniors, from what I understand, they're gone on weekends.
Yeah. I think it's probably it would be considered an in-kind donation from the county, but I don't think it's really been addressed specifically as that. But yeah, when McCamey comes back, he'll probably know exactly what you're talking about.
I think to follow up on that, I think we were still trying to maybe hash out some sort of terms or something with the seniors on who was paying for what in general. I think maybe there was, feels like there was a discussion we kind of left off from with stuff like who mows the yard or changes the light bulbs. Is that was supposed to come out of the general fund, or was that gonna be part of Cherie's budget? And I think maybe we just kind of,
We had that, was it Jay Dawn? What'd you put together something for us for the seniors, what was that called, that document? Memorandum. Yeah, memorandum of understanding. We had a lot of that stuff laid out in there, I thought.
Yes, we did.
I believe they said that they were going to offer to do some kind of light work, you know, upkeep kind of thing. I haven't heard otherwise, but that was my
I think
understanding.
that's a good idea if we do it in the future.
Yeah.
You know, some grounds work
Yeah,
the
yeah.
seniors can do. I think we have the Sea Cadets also down at DARC, you approved that, so.
I think that's who you really mean.
That's,
C-
is that who it
The
is?
sea
Yeah,
guys,
actually, it's the
sea
Sea
cadets, is that,
Cadets.
yeah.
That's
Is it, where, is it Clinton, is it Anderson County, is it Oak Ridge? Who's using is it all of them?
It's a multi-county
Sea Cadet
operation.
Cadets, the way I understood it, weren't affiliated with the Navy. You know, we have a Navy ROTC program.
And on Air Force, too.
Yeah, and they're just different. But if I recall correctly, County Commission voted to let them have some space in DARC a while back.
Well, that's what I thought, and that's why I couldn't explain to the folks that were talking to me about it, because I didn't realize who was using the senior center, and, you know,
Well, but
I know
ultimately,
now.
we allowed them to go to the senior center.
Okay. Thank you. If there's anything I can do on it, I'll be glad to. But in the future, maybe if we can do an agreement with them, I'd love to see a liability agreement.
Can we get another copy of that memorandum of understanding? I know it's around in my email.
I'll email it to you tonight when I see that other one.
Next check.
Yes, sir. It may not be the signed copy, but.
That's all right, that's all right.
Any other business to come before this committee? Well, thank you for your time. We moved along pretty well. Got out here, got everything covered.
Thursday?
Thursday,
Same time.
6,
118.
118. Has everybody seen 118 yet?
I have not.
Man, it's nice, really nice.
Well, the entrance looks good too.
It
That's-
does.
That was a very good company that we had there.
Yeah, I have to agree with
Really
it.
had a nice, clean job site all the time, nothing laying around here every day. Good choice by purchasing for the mayor.
Mhm. If nothing else come before this committee, we'll call it adjourned. Thanks.
Good job, Jim.